Good evening, everyone. I hope that you and your families are staying safe and healthy during this pandemic. Hope that your week is going well. Today, my speech of occasion is going to be a eulogy in remembrance of my mother, who died suddenly at the young age of 53, Sandra Ann Bridges. Here's a picture of my beautiful mom. This is her obituary. Here she is. I did do a speech outline for this speech, but I only did it because it was required. I don't need an outline to talk about who my mother was. She was a God fearing, loving, caring, strong, forgiving, humanitarian. She was an angel. And in our religion, they say that she's gone on to be with the Lord, but I say that she was an angel who got her wings. Now, she would correct you, don't call her religious. She would say, I am not religious, I am spiritual. Because I believe in the spiritual connection that we have as humans. Her humanitarianism is what taught me to be compassionate for others. I remember when we were younger, and there would be people that would come to church, and they would be homeless, and she would open up our house. Now, we lived in a project, so it was a 3-story house, but it was little. The apartment and the square footage was little, and she would open up her home to homeless families. And I would be like, Mom, these people are strangers. We don't know them. Like, why are you letting these strangers in our house? And she loved the children as if they were her own. She loved the parents as if they were her brothers and sisters. And it just really showed me what it means to have compassion and care and concern for others. She was a forgiving woman, and she was strong. My stepfather, he was a drug addict. He abused us. He abused me, my mom, and my brother. And she would, because of the drugs, she would pray, and I would hear her cry out to God in her room, asking to change her husband. And in her prayers, even through the abuse, she would pray and pray, and I really saw the strength that she had as a mom, and as a wife, and as a woman. She showed me strength in her walking away from her marriage, because my stepfather threw her through the back of a car window in a Tops parking lot because she wouldn't give him her check, because she knew he wanted to buy drugs, and she knew that we needed food. And she walked away after that happened because she wanted to live for her children. Now, if you can imagine how thick car glass is. This is what turned me into a true believer. She should have been cut up. She should have been bleeding to death. She could have cut an artery, anything. She did not have one scratch on her. And if you don't believe in God, when that miracle happened, it made me a believer that there's some higher power working somewhere. Years later, we were coming out of the Broadway market, and we ran into my stepfather. He was strung out on the street. He was looking bad. My mom called out to him. She ran up to him, gave him a big hug, and was like, oh my goodness, how are you? Are you okay? Are you hungry? Let's get you something to eat. Let's get you some clothes. Do you want to come to my house and shower? And man, I was mad. I was so angry. I'm like, how can she show somebody that abused and beat her and her children love like that, almost killed her? How could she show them love? And when we got home, I said, I'm mad at you, Mom. How could you even offer him anything after what he did to us? She said, why are you mad? Everyone deserves forgiveness. Look at yourself. You're not perfect. We all deserve a second chance, Sharon. And we're not God, so we're not to judge. Now, I didn't want to accept it right away because in anger, I was so angry. But she showed me what it meant to be forgiving. She was also non-confrontational. She called me one day when she got out of work. She's like, I'm a little discouraged. I'm like, what happened? She said, you know how I pray for the patients in the ER when they're sick? My mom, she did janitorial work for Sisters Hospital. And she worked in the ER, and she would pray for the patients there when she would clean up the room. And sometimes on her break. She said, you know, my supervisor made fun of me and mocked me and degraded me in front of everyone in the hospital. She said the doctors stood up for me and they said how my prayers helped some of those patients and how they enjoyed my presence. She said, but I want to pray for my supervisor because I know that wasn't her. And I was like, hold on, what? She did what and you want to pray for her? I said, Mom, this lady made fun of you because you prayed for patients, for sick people, and you want to pray for her? She said, Sharon, it's not about her. Whatever she's going through, she needs prayer. She needs healing. And that taught me how to turn the other cheek. True definition of a Christian. And her love for people spread out throughout wherever she went. There was a woman that came to her funeral. She said, you don't know me, your mom doesn't know me personally, but I'll never forget what your mom did for me, and I had to come pay my respect. She said, I saw your mother's picture on one of my Facebook friends' page, and it showed that she had passed away. She said, I remember I was feeling suicidal, and I was depressed, and I was in the Walmart aisle, and when your mom turned the corner, it was like an angel. She said, your mom just started talking to me like she knew me. And I broke down crying to your mother. And she stood there and she prayed and prayed and cried with me. And she said, you don't know what your mother did for me that day. Because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. That's who my mom was as a person. And my grandmother, when she passed away, I didn't understand why my mom was always so sad still afterwards until I experienced it. She was not only my mom, but she was my best friend. And that's who she was. That's the love, that's the peace, that's the compassion, that's the love of God that she spread out throughout this world. Rest in heaven, Mom. I love you.